You've only gone and downloaded a multiplesources.net podcast. For more episodes of this show and a bunch of other content covering everything from NBA teams to professional wrestling, visit multiplesources.net. Multiplesources.net. But wait! Act now and you too could join multiplesources.net. Yeah, we're looking for people to do their own podcasts about different NBA teams. We're looking for blog authors, video highlight creators, basically anything you can think of to write about sports. You can kind of write or create to your heart's content. So if you want to help us and join this up-and-coming independent blog and podcast network monster, go to multiplesources.net. I'll stick something in the sidebar that says join us or something equally unfunny, so go and click on that. Join us.
Let's do this! Buckle up, Buckaroos!
Are you ready? Oh, yeah!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to It's Always Sunny in Phoenix, a weekly podcast where we keep you up to date on everything Phoenix Suns basketball. Today, we're going to talk about some guys we have our eyes on towards the end of the first round of the draft, and then talk about the NBA Finals and see where it goes from there. The whole crew is here today. I'm Charlie, and I have David and Mitch with me today.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and start off. Someone that I have seen a little bit of and am very interested by, if you know Ben, our new writer over on the multiplesources.net/Phoenix Sun. He is a big Syracuse fan, and so I'm going to give a little bit of love to Malachi Richardson. I watched him in that Gonzaga game, and yeah, I know it was really painful for Mitch, but I watched him during that game and after the fact, and you know, he's got a pretty good frame. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. He's got a pretty good frame. He can catch and shoot. He can kind of create his own offense. So, you know, as a wing guy, if we're looking to add a little bit of depth, and we don't go either that or we don't go wing, and we just go like double power forward, or who knows, in the beginning of the draft and with our first two picks, and maybe we could go for a wing, and maybe Malachi Richardson is that guy.
Yeah, and you know, while I was watching that game, as painful as it was, when you remove yourself from the emotional situation, you know, the thing that I thought about those guys was they're physical. They already know how to play physical, and the increased physicality that someone like Richardson would face from having to guard bigger guys and faster guys, I don't think he would have quite as hard of a time adjusting as a lot of guys would. That was just something that I thought even during the game, that, man, they can play physical already. But one thing I kind of think about this pick, one, I think it depends a lot on our first two picks. And another thing, I think at least one of these picks will either be traded or will be a draft and stash kind of situation. I'm not sure which one yet, and maybe we'll hear more about that as we get even closer, but there's no way that we have room for three guys to get on the roster this year. I think one of them will have to be a long-term project if we don't trade a pick.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Richardson's one of those guys who's been all over the draft boards and kind of rising up lately. And I saw an article from a Philadelphia newspaper, and this was right after I saw from the same newspaper that the 76ers were considering taking Jamal Murray number 1. So that was surprising. And then from the same, I believe it was even the same writer, says that Malachi Richardson is a possible top 10 pick. So I'm just trying to figure out what the 76ers are up to. And they're so big on both of these guys. It seems like a 76ers move to somehow try to draft both of these guys number 1 overall. You know, just two picks at once. Just take these guys 76ers basketball. But
Is that what they get to do if they don't pick Ben Simmons? They just get to pick two guys that should not go at number 1 in any scenario?
Well, for the sake of the league, maybe they should just let them have the first two and just make things a little more competitive in that East.
Yeah.
You can't draft Ben Simmons or Brandon Ingram, but you can draft two guys. But one of them just has to be a late first to second rounder with the other guy. That's what it takes. 76ers, go for it.
How about Mitch? What do you think? What do you like at the end of that first round?
Yeah, so this is a tough spot, really, to guess on. I mean, a lot of what we've been talking about, even with our late lottery pick, is tough to guess on because of all the movement that we've seen in these mock drafts. Everything I've seen in mocks lately is having us taking someone from overseas and doing a draft and stash kind of thing. But one guy that I look at from the U.S. is Steven Zimmerman from UNLV. He's only 19. He'll turn 20 in September. Fun fact, he went to Bishop Gorman. It's the same high school that Shabazz Muhammad went to. But he's a guy who I think has been rising a little bit on draft boards. He's young. He's got plenty of time to grow. I think he's 7 foot. Yeah, 7 foot exactly, 240. Can really do some damage in the low post. He'll need to expand his range a little bit and get stronger and more physical. But I don't know if he'll fit on our team because, again, it depends on what we do with our first two picks or any trades or whatever. But I think he's someone that might be kind of a steal in that late first round.
Yeah, Zimmerman's a guy that kind of caught my eye early in the whole when we were starting to do the mock drafts and big boards. I checked him out, and he's kind of an intriguing player. And I like everything he brings to the table, but he might be a guy that would really benefit from another year in school. But we're too late for that now, so yep. He's going pro. But maybe he would be a nice guy that we could stash for a year. We drafted that Alec Brown a year or two ago, big 7'1" skinny guy out of Wisconsin, like University of Wisconsin Green Bay, I believe. Uh-huh. And I was a little excited for him for a second round pick. I don't know why, but I haven't heard much about him. I think he got some time in the D League, but I don't know. I think Zimmerman could be a guy like Alec Brown with some range for that. A guy that size, but we'll have to see about that, and maybe a year or two not seeing the floor in the NBA might really benefit him. I mean, he might be in a little too deep right away.
Yeah, well, and another thing, a reason he got overlooked, gets overlooked, I should say, is because UNLV wasn't great last year. They weren't a super good team, and so that makes it so you don't get as much national exposure, and that can make it hard on guys. But yeah, I think a year or two in the D League could be good for a guy like him.
Yeah, you don't hear a ton about the Runnin' Rebels nationally, really.
No, they had a couple pretty good years.
Yeah, back in the day they were solid, but not so much anymore. Yeah. So how about David picks another one there?
All right, so I'm going to go with another wing guy, and another guy that I watched mainly because I was watching Gonzaga and trying to spot Mitch on the bench. And the guy that I'm talking about is St. Joseph's DeAndre Bembry.
Oh.
He's getting a little bit of talk at a 28 for us. And if I actually pull up the stuff that I had open.
Is that Draft Express? Was he...
Yeah. He's on Draft Express right now as our 28. He's a pretty decent scorer and looks like he has the potential to be a good defender in the league. And he also might be able to be like this is going to sound really dumb, but like a really, really light version of Andre Iguodala. Like 10% and then the rest water. Like super light version. But like he looks like he's got some good court vision, so he can handle the ball at times from the small forward position. He can score in kind of a bunch of different ways. He's got that potential on the defensive side. He's nowhere near going to be that, but he might be able to be like that 5-10% of Iggy and the rest water. But that might be something to look for. And he's a junior. He was a junior, I think, coming out. So I think that might be something that we look at definitely at 28.
Yeah, I like the idea of picking up another small forward at this point, just for some depth. We were hurting bad last year at that. We had to bring up Chase Budinger, and he got minutes. He got a lot of minutes.
I know.
After Warren
and
went
now
out.
he's getting minutes on TV in an ad where Steph Curry scores on him from the 3-point line.
Oh, and he made the Bleacher Report Game of Zones parody.
He did, yeah, that's right.
They're known as the Brickmen, the Phoenix Brickmen, who they only shoot bricks, and Budinger had a nice little cameo trying to jump onto the boat, but obviously missing the boat because they're Brickmen.
As sad as that was for Suns fans, it was still really funny.
As a huge Game of Thrones fan and then NBA fan, obviously, getting to see Phoenix in any sort of way in that little series, it was funny. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got Bembry there. How about Mitch? You got anyone else towards the end there?
I haven't really thought of anyone else, really. I know David had Zhou Qi to talk about. I had watched a little tape on him.
Yeah, I'm sure David's the man with the info for Zhou Qi, but 7'2", 218, that's a nice size center coming into the draft. And he's got some range.
I don't know if the 218 part of that is very nice, but 7'2" center.
The 7'2".
Good wingspan.
The 7'2"
Good
is what I'm
wingspan.
talking about. Huge wingspan, right? Like 7'8", or it's big.
I feel like it's 7'8", 7'6", something dumb. Like he has really elite measurables. Who knows if he'll ever be able to put everything together, but his measurables are really darn good.
Yeah, and if you turn those measurables into being a rim protector, standing 7'2" with that wingspan, that could be a great role for him right off the bat. But he's going to need to put on about 30.
At least. I mean, yeah, you said it, 218. Being over 7 foot tall, healthily over 7 foot tall, and only being 218 pounds, I would love to be 218 pounds right now, and I'm a foot shorter than him, not taller. I'm not 8 something. I'm a foot shorter than him, and if I was 218 pounds, I'd be ecstatic. I think if you're 7'2", you want to be a little bit beefier than that.
That's a good point. It's a very good point.
But he's got the shooting ability. He can hit threes. He can hit jump shots. He can kind of finish. He's gonna definitely get consideration in that late first round, early second round.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I could definitely see him being snatched up towards the end of the first there. Every team loves a sweet shooting big man, and that's what he brings to the table, and he could be the guy. Just 20 years old, too, so plenty of time to...
Really young.
Yeah.
Huge project, for sure. He's not a come in and contribute right away. He's a project pick.
Speaking of huge and projects, I saw that the Suns worked out Mamadou Ndiaye from UC Irvine. UC
Irvine has a basketball team?
Yeah. And I see one spot says he's 7'4". I've seen 7'6" as well. 8'1" wingspan. He is just like this freak athlete. Who
Do you happen to see a standing reach on that? It has to be near 10 feet.
Let's see here. I'll see if I can find it, but he's a guy that I watched a little bit in college, and he can block people. He's just one of those guys that's so long and lanky like that. He's also almost 300 pounds. But I just thought it was interesting.
If you're 7'6", you should probably be around that, not 218.
Right. But it's interesting to see that we worked him out, because if you look, I'm on a site called NBADraft.net, and one of the top articles is posterized 7'6" Mamadou Ndiaye dunks on defender without jumping. That's like the kind of thing that you're gonna get with him. So like really good defense because of the length. He's not super fast though. Really interesting prospect. I don't even know if we were looking at him for that late first round. He might have been someone we were looking at for second round consideration, but I don't know. Look this guy up on YouTube and watch some of his stuff. It's really interesting to see.
So 7'6", that's pretty ridiculous. I can think of Sean Bradley and Georges Mirasan, a couple of 7'6" type guys, but that's all I can think of. Can you guys think of any others?
And there is the 7'6" guy. That dude that played over in China and came over here and played for the Rockets.
Yeah.
Just that guy, that little guy that didn't get much playing time called Yao Ming.
Never heard of him.
I know.
Good call. Yeah, that's. I just got off an airplane, so forgive me.
Excuses.
Forgive me if I'm a little foolish tonight. But let's talk about another really tall, well, not really tall, but tall, very skinny guy, Bryce Johnson. He's going to be around at that end of the first round, hopefully, and he seems like a guy who might be ready to play right away. He's 6'11" and he only weighs 209 though, so that weight's going to be a factor for a lot of these guys, these young guys that don't quite have the NBA body yet, but they have time to put it on. But Bryce Johnson, he's a really intriguing guy. He can get up and down the court, really athletic, gets a lot of his points from like off cuts, putbacks, tip-ins, that kind of ball. Like, he doesn't need the ball in his hands to get his points. And coming into the NBA with a role that a late first-round pick would have, I think that'd fit him really well, and he has a chance to flourish right away. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I really like Bryce Johnson. I am definitely behind getting him if he's available at 28. So far, Draft Express the last couple of times has had him around 27, 26, a little bit before. More mid-20s than late 20s. But if he's available at 28, I would love to get him. He's athletic. He runs the floor. He's not the longest guy. He's 6'10", I think, or 6'10", 6'11", and I think his wingspan is only like 6'11" too, which it's not like it's shorter, but it's not longer, so he's not going to be a rim protector. He's going to be a bench big, in my opinion, which if you get a bench big at the end of the first round, there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. I think that's still good value. And dude can score, and he will be probably good at guarding other fours, not fives, or being able to go up to threes. He'll be good to guard fours. And but I mean, I really like him. I like Bryce Johnson. I'm in the Bryce Johnson to Phoenix train. Choo choo! Don't let the Spurs get him.
Oh, that'd be terrible.
Yeah.
That would just be. If he went to the Spurs, I'd be pretty disappointed because that's somewhere where he'd just do great and somewhere where he'd fit in. And Pop, I'm sure Pop likes him. Seems like the kind of guy Pop would like. I just don't want to see that. Because he'll put up 30 against us some game.
Oh, he will.
Some reason.
He will, yeah.
That's just how it would go. And, I think we've had this talk about Bryce Johnson before. I think this was me and you talking about this, David. But maybe this is just a recent memory type thing. But I think of Brandon Wright when we had him for last year, 2 years ago for a little bit. I just see some similarities, and maybe it's just the body type. But I think they kind of have similar games.
I think it's body type. A thinner guy that's got the height, not necessarily the length. Never going to really be a rim protector, but going to be an offensive guy that can catch lobs and get to the rim. I remember us talking about that. I don't remember when exactly, but I think that's not a bad comparison at all.
The thing with Bryce Johnson that is interesting to me is, and we talked about this a couple episodes ago or last episode, whatever. We've seen him mocked anywhere from a lottery pick to a second round pick. Like, he could go anywhere in that range. We have no idea. And, you know, if there's a team that really likes him that doesn't have any glaring needs, maybe they can take him a little earlier, you know. So that's what intrigues me about him.
Like, I think the Clippers have their pick, like, at 25. I think that Bryce Johnson to back up Blake Griffin or play small ball with Blake or any of that, I think that would be a great pick.
Yeah, I like that too, but I'd really like seeing him on the Suns if he's still around
Agreed.
for that 28th pick.
That would be a great pick.
Okay, and one more guy that I know David would like to talk a little bit about, and I'm going to leave this one up to him. His first name's Juan. I live in Arizona, and I can't pronounce anything Spanish, so I'm going to leave this one to David.
Yeah, Juan Hernan Gomez.
Nailed it. That was good.
Was that what it was?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm gonna roll with it. He's projected to be gone way before us. I just assume that he will be. Right now, he's getting projected at 20. He's been projected into the late teens, early 20s, late 20s, kind of all in that area. He is a draft and stash guy, which I think is really good and something that we'd be looking for. He's a small forward. He can play a little bit of small ball for. Right now he's 20 years old, going to be 21. He's 6'9", 220, good frame, and he's definitely got really good role player potential. And I think being able to be a draft and stash guy and come over in a couple years is definitely not a bad thing. I don't have a whole lot more, but from what I've seen, it looks like he can knock down shots. He's a knockdown shooter, and will only grow to be better. And I think that's why, even though he's a draft and stash, he's starting to climb up the boards.
Right, and I'm just going to call him Juan from here on out. He's a really good athlete for the size he is.
Yes.
And from what I've been able to pick up, he plays hard. He plays high-energy basketball. And, 6'9", good athlete, playing hard all the time. That's just a recipe for success in the NBA.
Yeah, he definitely he's gonna make plays, in my opinion, and anyone that gets him is gonna be really happy.
And one more thing about him, he is eligible to come to the NBA after he gets drafted. He's a free agent in I think he's playing in the Spanish league, I believe. I think he's ready to come over whenever someone wants him, but he could be a guy that does go back for a year or two,
I was under the impression that he was purely a draft and stash and that he couldn't come over, because I know Zhou Qi, he has a buyout. The big thing with Dragon Bender is Dragon Bender has a buyout too, and I know that those guys can come over right away, but I thought that Hernan Gomez was definitely a draft and stash. Who knows? I could be completely wrong. So,
and like I said, I just got off an airplane and I have no idea, so I think I heard that. It sounds like something.
Good to me.
It sounds like something I may have read.
I do have one other wing that I kind of want to talk about, if you guys don't mind.
Go for it.
And that's Malik Beasley. That he's actually the love child of Michael Beasley and someone else.
Malik Jackson.
Yeah, Malik Jackson.
Malik Jackson. There we go.
Current Jacksonville Jaguars defensive end.
There we go. I couldn't think of anyone that was actually named Malik at the time, so I was gonna go with a joke, and then it fell apart really fast. So thanks for the assist, Mitch.
Just call me Steve Nash.
Ooh.
I'm not gonna call you that.
Fire emoji.
Okay.
Fire emoji. Malik Beasley is getting he's getting projected right now at 32 on Draft Express to go into the Lakers. He's a shooting guard. I think he's gonna be 20 this season. He's got a good size on him, 6'5". He's got the athleticism. He can slash. He looks like his shooting form isn't broken at all, and that he's got a good shooting form. I think his big thing is that he's just not going to be a big defender from what I've seen, but guys with athleticism, they always have the possibility of being a plus defender. I think he's definitely an option for us if he falls to 34 or maybe even a 28 if we are looking for another wing. I think he's definitely someone to look for.
Do you think the center position is what we should maybe try to keep our eyes on when we get to the end of this first round? It seems like there's some young centers, some good-sized guys that might not be ready right away, but we have Tyson Chandler and Alex Len.
Yeah, so I think it's something that we can definitely look at. You know, there's Diamond Stone that's getting projected right now, going at 30. There's Zhou Qi, of course. There's Thon Maker, who they're saying might be a center whenever he finally develops. Who knows? There's Zimmerman, of course. There's a couple other guys that are kind of centers. I think it's something that we can look at, but I don't think it's a pressing need right now. And my dream scenario is getting someone like Scal falling to us at 13, which I will eventually actually do my write-up on. If you guys have been waiting for the next write-up, Scal will eventually come, I promise. But I think he's a guy that'll be a power forward and be a really good small ball center. So I think that if we go that one of the power forwards we go with, whether it be Dragon Bender, whether it be a guy at 13, whatever it be, I think that we'll pick someone that has the versatility to play small ball 5.
That's interesting.
I like that too. Book it.
That reminds me of something. This is a little outside of the 28 pick, but I think it's worth noting that the Suns gave individual workouts to Domantas Sabonis and Jaylen Brown. So it shows that the team definitely has interest in both of those guys, enough interest to give them individual workouts. I've seen Brown really slipping. People are projecting him outside of the top 5s, even some people outside of the top 10. I don't think that's accurate.
What site projected him out of top 10?
I don't even remember.
I think the lowest I saw him going was 8.
Yeah, I think I saw him 10 and 1. I forget where it was, but that doesn't matter. He's going to go before that.
I would hate. Oh my goodness, if he landed at 10 in Milwaukee, that'd be nuts.
Yeah, it would. But
would not want to play the Bucks anytime soon.
They're
that'd
already
be too much athleticism on one team.
Yeah, they don't need players that can shoot. They'll just jump you out of the building.
They'll just fly up and down the court. It'll be like 5 seconds or less. One Giannis dribble and he's at the opposite 3-point line and it's just game over.
I mean, I'm still for taking Brown at 4 if we can. Either him or Chris if they're available. But there's so many other things we need to see the first 3 picks first. But anyway, I just think it's important to note that those guys are getting individual time. And I saw an upload of the Sabonis workout on YouTube, but it's been taken down. I had been meaning to watch the whole thing. I only watched 15 minutes. I just wanted to see what an individual workout looked like. And in the first 15 minutes, I saw some pretty interesting stuff of starting out with a lot of in close, finishing right at the rim, back and forth, right hand, left hand for about 3 minutes nonstop. A lot of free throws, a lot of positioning on defense, and then a lot of running. Most people probably know about the way we test guys, making them do sprints up and down the court for 3 minutes nonstop.
3 minutes up and down as many times as you can go.
Right, and so you've got that, but the whole workout, in the first 15 minutes, the whole thing was an hour. But in the first 15 minutes, I saw very fast-paced. The coaching staff, there's a lot of coaches out there, very involved, giving directions. And if he didn't understand one thing, as soon as he made a mistake, they would say, oh, here's what we mean. Try this. Do it like this. And he would respond and do it right. And it's a lot of repetition. It's a lot of, don't just do this once, do it 5 times in a row, that kind of thing. So I thought that was really interesting to see that process, and I wish I could have watched the full video. But anyway,
we've talked a lot about Sabonis on this, just because of the nature of you going to Gonzaga and stuff. But
right,
something just real quick that was on my mind when I watched Sabonis, I was under the impression, and you can tell me what I'm wrong because someone's already told me that I'm wrong, but that he was a little bit, that one of his bigger issues was that just because he wasn't as athletic, he was a little bit slower, and so he might not be able to play the 4, and he might only be able to play center.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think. I think when you look at the defensive end, he could have. I mean, imagine him guarding Blake Griffin. That just would be really tough. You know, he does not have the athleticism to guard someone like that. On offense, I think it would depend on the system. I like a Marc Gasol comparison on offense because he really can do a lot of great work in the low post. He's a great passer. He's got great IQ. He can see the floor very well from the low post, and he developed a lot of a high post game this year as well. A lot of elbow shooting. And what I've been hearing is that at Gonzaga he didn't shoot a lot of threes because that just wasn't their offense. It's a flex offense that, you know, the center or either of the post players will get the ball essentially at the point and pass it just to keep the ball moving and then go down into the low block. So he just didn't get the opportunity to shoot a lot of threes. But what I've been hearing is that teams are impressed with his range because he's been making a lot of shots from outside and they didn't know he had that range. But his mid-range shot is really nice, and it was really nice at Gonzaga for sure. But I think your point is correct.
Okay, I wasn't sure, but I just wanted to ask because I forget where I mentioned it somewhere that I thought that Sabonis was just a little slow, and that was like his main mock and everything, or main knock, not main mock, but main knock. That someone told me that I was crazy and that
no,
he was really quick, and I was like, well, okay, well, whatever, no big deal. But
if it was a Zag fan, there's a lot of Zag fans who like to think that these guys are perfect. And if you say anything negative, they just say the opposite.
To be fair, Kyle Wiltshire is pretty perfect. So,
have you watched him play defense?
What are you talking about? What's this defense you speak of?
I mean, if there's no defense, then yeah, he is pretty perfect, I guess.
All right, and bringing it back real quick to the end of to the second round, there's one guy that I want to talk about, and his name is Gary Payton II.
Ooh, yes.
Not Gary Payton III, right?
Not Gary Payton III. Not Gary Payton Jr., but Gary Payton II.
GP2.
GP2.
The dose.
And the big reason that I want to talk about the deuce is that you know, Gary Payton has Gary Payton Jr. as a son and Gary Payton II as a son. They're different moms, but all I can think of is how much does that suck if you're junior? That you're junior and then he has another kid and names him the second. I mean, that's all I can think of, and there's been a whole lot of other jokes kind of going back and forth that me and Chuck may have been going on with, but just saying, I feel really bad for Gary Payton Jr. because Gary Payton II might be legit.
Yeah,
by legit, I mean he might be the favorite son.
Well, speaking of players who played in Seattle, this is just an interesting tidbit. I saw that Ken Griffey Jr.'s son was drafted by the Mariners, and he doesn't play baseball. So
they had to do that so they can say they drafted 3 generations of Griffeys, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
That's cool.
They had his dad announce the pick, so it was cool.
That is cool.
Okay.
Still, I mean, at least Gary Payton II plays basketball.
That's true.
True. Who was it? Didn't the Padres or something draft Johnny Manziel?
That sounds right. Someone did.
Something like that, yeah.
I feel like that's a thing, and I might be crazy, but
hey, you know who one guy is that got drafted by baseball by the MLB that I really wish would have just played in the MLB? Tom Brady.
Ooh, yes.
Dolphins fan here. that would have changed my life if Tom Brady decided to play baseball professionally. Imagine an NFL with no Deflategate, no Tom Brady Belichick
Well,
duo.
hold on. There might have still been Deflategate, but it just come at a different time.
You can't deflate a baseball.
I mean,
Jimmy Garoppolo, Deflategate.
Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo. Pardon yourself, Mitch.
Oh, did I say it wrong?
Yeah, it's Goat Garoppolo.
Oh, sorry.
I'm the only one that butchers
you said it
names
right.
around here.
Oh.
You said it right. I'm just being dumb. Anyways,
Oh, sorry.
I have nothing to talk about Gary Payton II or anyone else, so I'm done. That's it. I'm done.
Let's get back to basketball real quick on this Gary Payton, the Deuce. He plays good defense, right? That's his forte.
God, I would hope so.
If you're the gloves kid, we should call him the
better.
mitten.
The mitten.
The mitten. The glove and then the mitten.
The
I kind of like calling him the Deuce.
The Deuce. Yeah.
Because that's what he might perform like on the offensive end.
Oh.
So
Ooh. Call out.
Hot takes.
call out. Bam. Come at me,
Gary Payton
Gary
II.
Payton too.
If you're listening.
Oh, man.
I would hope he's good on defense. If he's not, I feel like he would have been disowned and there would have been Gary Payton III would already be happening. So
Yeah. If he didn't play good D, we wouldn't have even heard about him.
maybe that's what happened with Gary Payton Jr. He just didn't play good D, so Gary Payton had to show him up.
Well, you guys just need to be
Playing,
looking
like, first
forward.
grade YMCA basketball.
You just
don't
need to
play
be
good
looking
defense.
forward to the 2024 draft when Gary Payton 8 will probably declare. So we just need to be looking forward to that.
You know, it's really unfortunate that the greatest player of all time, Gary Payton IX, decided to just to join NASCAR instead.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
In the pit crew too. Wow.
I'd say he's still using his athleticism to the most of his abilities, though. Like, if you want to fight about NASCAR not being a sport with me right now, I'll fight you. I'll fight you about that.
I didn't say
Wait, are
anything.
you an
I was just
NASCAR
saying
fan?
that it's unfortunate that you know. I'm not going to talk smack on NASCAR to you. I'm not going to talk smack on that NAFCAR with Jeff and Jeff Jr. and all that. So.
And I'll be honest, I hate NASCAR. Okay, let's move on.
oh,
Let's
good.
talk about these finals now, huh?
Oh, you had me worried.
Yeah, that's not my favorite thing to watch on a Sunday. I'll tell you that.
I think I'd rather watch paint dry.
I don't know about that, but
Paint
Anyways.
dry, grass grow, something
I'd
like
rather
that.
watch baseball. That's for sure.
There's a fair analogy. I like
That's
that.
fair.
All right, let's move on to the finals here. The Warriors took Game 4 in Cleveland to give them a 3-1 lead in the series. And the Cavs looked like they were going to make this series interesting after that Game 3 win. They won pretty handily, but seems like they lost quite a bit of momentum after this last game. And they did lose some momentum, but Draymond Green suspended for next game. Do you guys think that's enough to turn the tables for the Cavs, or are we going Game 7 so the NBA can make that money? What do you guys think?
That's what it's all about. It's about the money.
It's all about the money.
Draymond Green should have been suspended before this, and not for what he did recently. It's all about the money.
Okay, if this series was tied
my goodness.
2-2, if it were a 2-2 series after last game, would he be suspended right now?
No, because LeBron wouldn't have flipped his lid and tried to get him suspended.
Oh my god.
Because that's all LeBron did, is he tried to do the step over to try and be disrespectful to the thing, because that's the ultimate screw you. Pippen did it on Ewing. AI did it on Ty Lue, the great all-star Ty Lue. So he was trying to do the same thing to Draymond Green, and Draymond was being Draymond. I mean, it is what it is. And then LeBron decided, oh, well, one more tech or one more flagrant or whatever the hell it is. And he's gone, so I might as well just try since I'm not winning this game anyways. And so that's what he did. And then he complained way too much and stopped playing in the middle of the play, which I thought was the funniest thing, was that he just completely stopped playing and just got in Draymond's face. And I think it was Curry that just drove by for a layup. Like, there was no help defense because LeBron was too busy just trying to get Draymond to get a technical or whatever it was. And it's so dumb. If this was tied 2-2, even if LeBron tried to throw off and get Draymond whatever suspended, I think they would do it, because then it's like, oh, LeBron's at 3-2. He's up 3-2. He has the chance. He has the chance to go up 3-2. Will the Warriors be able to go through the adversity? Blah, 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 blah. And it would just be the same storyline. But that being said, then there's the talk right now about how, it's the accumulation of all the things that Draymond has done. Well, how about tripping Enes Kanter in, like, Game 5? I'm pretty sure that should have been on top of the accumulation of everything that was going on. Since he had already kicked Adams in the nuts and kicked Robertson almost in the face and kicked KD in the arm. I mean, look, you can talk about, it's the accumulation of everything. Guess what? You should have drawn that line a long time ago, but they were down 3-1. So you didn't draw the line because you wanted those tickets sold and you wanted the money made. And you can't make that when you suspend Draymond Green and then the Thunder continue to blow them out. But you can't do that. You gotta do your officiating right. You gotta make sure everything's going on. Then you still need Klay to have an otherworldly quarter in Game 6, so that way the Warriors can even stay in it, because Draymond's still a dumbass. But now it's like, okay, so now it's accumulated everything, and LeBron got mad, so we gotta suspend him now. What a joke, NBA. And come on. The Cleveland's now down 3-1. You know exactly what you're doing this. The transparency is there. They're trying to just make that money. They're trying to get one more game out of this series, try and get Cleveland on the run, push a Game 7 as much as they possibly can. That's all they're trying to do, and it's infuriating. I am way too mad about it, and
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit right here, just to keep David going here.
Please do.
When this whole... I might actually stick up for Draymond. I know that's unpopular around here, but I might stick up for him just a little bit. I just want to see how David reacts to this. I think David's like muting his speakers right now so he doesn't have to listen.
No, I'm getting a call, and I'm trying to...
Okay.
I was trying to stop it, but...
Okay.
All right,
so the whole scuffle between LeBron and Draymond, I was on Draymond's side a little bit, thinking along the lines of, oh, okay, LeBron, you're going to be a tough guy all of a sudden. Now at this point in the playoffs, now you're going to actually act like a tough guy and try to stir things up. Like, why weren't you playing like this the whole series, the whole playoffs? They did kind of walk through the Eastern Conference, but I think LeBron may have pushed that just a little too much, and he didn't get quite what he deserved. But I'm with Draymond on this one. I don't think he did anything out of the question that would deserve a flagrant, but I wonder if David agrees with that or just wants to tell me to shut up.
No, I completely agree with you. Look, Draymond knew what he was doing. LeBron also knew what he was doing. LeBron is a lot of words, and especially a certain word that Draymond called him that he supposedly blew up about that starts with a B. Because, I mean, let's be real here. In preseason, there was that where he did the forearm shove to Bazemore just out of nowhere and laid him out.
Yeah.
And it was preseason because he pissed him off or whatever. I mean, LeBron has done this in the past where all of a sudden he decides that he doesn't like this guy, so he's going to do whatever, and the league's not going to call him out on it because he's the best player in the world. And so he did it again, and he got a technical foul because whatever. Guess what? That means nothing because you don't give him a technical whenever he actually needs it. And so therefore he's not in trouble of getting suspended because of the technical fouls because you let him do whatever he wants. He's been the golden child of the NBA. He's been the chosen one of the NBA since 2004. And I honestly think that I hate LeBron. I hate him a ton. I really don't like him. That's a little bit because of the Laker root still in there, and I really like Kobe, and I felt like whatever. That's besides the point. But I've never liked LeBron, and I've always thought that the player that you saw that instigated the thing with Draymond, that's what I've always thought he was anyways.
That's the true LeBron right there.
I agree with
LeBron.
You. That's who I think. When I think of LeBron, that's what I think of. That when everything's going his way, and whatever. Okay, 2013 finals. Or 2013? That was the one where they beat the Spurs, where the Heat beat the Spurs.
That sounds right.
Yeah, so. And it was the back-to-back. And he got back-to-back finals MVPs, and he goes up there on the stage and gets his trophy and then does the, look at me pose thing where he's, holding both trophies. I was like, when I saw that, and I know the Heat were full-on villains at that point, all I could think of is, that's who you are. You're a smug, arrogant asshole.
I remember seeing Michael Jordan after a championship holding the trophy, sitting on the floor in the locker room crying. And then LeBron's pulling LeBron's like, look at me. I am the king.
I'm the king. I'm here. I got my second finals MVP. It was so infuriating. And
look at me.
Point, I'm like,
I'm LeBron. I'm LeBron, and it's time for a wardrobe malfunction. I'm gonna show the world what I have downstairs. Aren't we due for that? Just a little.
Another one.
When a guy gets between the wardrobe malfunction and then the chosen one that he has tattooed on the inside of his biceps that he's had since he was 17. There's just a whole lot that I don't like about LeBron, and the wardrobe malfunction was hilarious.
Yes,
and I felt like it should have been a way bigger deal.
It wasn't. It was so weird.
It wasn't a big deal at all.
Dude,
I was.
He pulled it out on ABC.
Out.
It was on ABC or ESPN. Yeah. That's national television. And
I was sitting in a Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah, you were at a family-friendly restaurant, and you had to see
I look up,
that.
I'm watching the game, and it goes to the timeout, and it just flashes the dong, and I'm like, is anyone going to say anything about that? That just happened?
I don't want to put this the wrong way and have people get the wrong idea about me, but I was excited to see the next day all the stuff that was going to happen. I was looking forward to it. I was like, oh, Twitter's going to eat him alive. There's going to be newscasts tomorrow morning talking about this, and there was nothing.
The most that we got was a meme on Reddit.
Yeah.
That is used only on our NBA every once in a while. That's all we got.
Someone photoshopped a crying Jordan down there, and that was that.
Either do that or the whole LeBron face.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we just found our cover photo for this podcast. We know how we're going to post it. That's perfect.
But getting kind of a little bit back on topic, I totally agree with you, Chuck. LeBron totally instigated that. I kind of wanted him as okay, you're gonna be the tough guy, then just lay Draymond out. Yeah, I kind of wanted that. I was talking with I think it was, I don't remember who I was watching the game with, but I was saying, I was like, look, Draymond did the thing where he was like, oh, I'm looking at the play and I'm gonna get up while you're trying to step over me. I wonder what that's gonna do. Oh, I'm just dumb and I don't know what's happening. I didn't know that was going on, that I was gonna get your junk on my head going up at full speed. He knew what he was doing too, and I was like, oh man, I kind of hope LeBron just takes him out. And then I remembered and I was like, oh no, this is LeBron, never mind. He's too much of a diva to do that, to be real. He's gonna just go talk crap and then talk crap with Curry, because Curry is all of a sudden just in there randomly, which by the way was also dumb. Curry, you're not even involved in the play. Why do you need to go and when Draymond's walking away, go start talking smack? Really?
What are you gonna do, Steph?
And then
what are you gonna do?
Pulled when they called the timeout on one of their last inbounds plays, and LeBron's grabbing Curry and stuff because that's what they allow everyone to do. You saw it in the Spurs game too, where it was Spurs and Thunder, and Kawhi's riding Westbrook completely like a pony. Weird stuff, but and Curry was all mad and come on, what are you doing? It was Curry, you're 6'3".
What are you doing? Why are you doing this?
Why?
Please stop.
Curry, why? It's a mess.
Well, let's talk about the Steph Curry brand of basketball, the jump shooting NBA team. Does it have to be Steph Curry on a jump shooting team to make it a championship team? Or will there be another team that throws together the next 3 best shooters in the league? Are they going to be as hot as the Warriors are right now? What do you guys think?
So I actually have a quote from Rick Barry that I want to tell you guys about. He's been complaining a little bit, Rick Barry has been, about the officiating in the playoffs and how it's gotten a lot more relaxed, like every year. When it hits the playoffs, they stop calling things as tight as they did in the regular season, and they start going a little bit relaxed. And that's where you get kind of the play that all the old guys complain about that they never play like anymore. Everything's a lot more physical, all that. And so Rick Barry's quote is, the fact that NBA playoffs allow, or the fact that the NBA playoffs allow a separate set of rules for officiating is stupid. It rewards less skilled players over skilled. It requires no skill to shove, grab, hold an opponent, and somehow that's allowed at the biggest stage. So that's his quote, and I was really thinking about it, and I was reading the thread. It's on Reddit on RNBA, is where I found the quote, and I started thinking about it a little bit. And I think that where the older guys, especially like Chuck and all those, Sir Charles saying that jump shooting teams can't win title and everything, you're kind of seeing Curry really rattled, and supposedly he's not 100% healthy because he's in a slump again, and everyone's decided that he's not healthy, and now there's reports saying that both his shoulders are all jacked up and both his knees are, and he's actually going to start eating through a straw after this series, so it's really crazy how he's going to come back after that. But I started thinking about it, and maybe Rick Barry should not complain, and all these old guys are thinking about basketball how they used to play it, and that's kind of how it gets played in the playoffs. Someone said how playoff basketball is how basketball should be played every single time. It's got the physicality. It's like playing on the playground. You're not going to call moving screens, really. You're not going to call that. But like if someone still kicks someone in the junk, that's not cool.
Correct.
Like that's not cool. And I was thinking about it, and the 7 seconds or less Suns, they were a jump shooting team. They relied on the jump shots and all that. This Warriors team is a jump shooting team. They happen to have 2 of the greatest 3-point shooters of all time, and a lineup that involves 3 other dudes that can shoot over 40% from 3-pointers. So they're a little bit of a different story, but I think this playoff officiating, where it gets a little bit more physical and where guys are getting roughed up a little bit more, how it always has been, and I think that's what stopped these jump shooting teams from really getting farther or winning a championship. Because when the rules are tighter in the regular season, and they're enforcing all the rules 100%, that's when the finesse teams do really well. And you see it every year. The teams that shoot a ton of 3-pointers, like the Rockets, and James Harden, which is all analytics basically, where he draws fouls in the paint that are kind of touch fouls, and he's kind of just reaching for things, but he gets them. And then playoffs come around, and not all those fouls are called because they kind of just let you play a little bit more. I kind of was thinking like maybe the reason that these jump shooting teams never really won the championships is because just the intensity gets brought up. When the officiating is really tight and all that stuff, then the finesse teams aren't at the advantage. But the reason why LeBron is so good in the playoffs is because he's a bruiser. And so the playoff rules, where they let everything kind of fly, all of a sudden his game is able to be elevated. And he can just bulldoze people and not have to worry about it and play super physical on them on the defensive end. And I was just thinking about that, and I wanted to know what you guys thought. Because I think that it kind of lends credence to the older guys like Chuck and all them that said that you can't win as a jump shooting team in the championships. But at the same time, it talks about how this Warriors team really has been able to do it as a jump shooting team, and that they're the exception, not the rule.
I'm kind of both ways on this, I guess, because if you look back a few years to when D. Wade and LeBron were on the Heat, I remember watching that basketball and watching both those guys primarily just put their heads down, get to the rim, and I don't know how many charges you'd call or how many pushes with their off-ball hand that really happened, but I started not enjoying watching that brand of basketball. And don't get me wrong, I like the physical basketball. I like seeing hard defense. I like the hand checks. I like the guy not letting the ball get into the post. That type of stuff. I love watching that. But then again, it just really depends on what you really think of basketball. Some people think jump shots. They think of guys wearing short shorts, dribbling around, passing the ball back and forth, and just looking like goofballs. Some people think of basketball like that. That's the way they'd prefer it. Other guys think of guys like LeBron, just monster athletes, taking it to the rim, throwing it down, swatting balls back 5 rows into the stands. There's just such a big difference between how some teams play that it just really makes this thing interesting. Like, I enjoy the Warriors brand of basketball. I like the fast pace. I like the jump shooting. But then, I miss the bad boy Pistons too. It just seems like maybe for the playoffs there needs to be a bit of a compromise. Let them play a little bit in some situations, but it seems like they can take Steph Curry out of the game in the playoffs now because they could just put a bruiser on him and rough him up all game. And one more thing about Curry, he's got these shoulder problems and knee problems. It's obviously pretty tough on him. He's a pretty little guy. Do you think he needs to beef up, or do you think him beefing up would ruin his jump shot?
I don't think so. He doesn't need any beefing up. He needs to be light. He needs to be able to move around and be quick with everything. He's good how he is. I think that he will have, as the career progresses, he'll end up becoming like the spot up, kind of like what Ray Allen did in Boston and all those. And his game's going to be great as the years continue to progress, especially because of his form. It doesn't really use a whole lot of physical exertion, all that kind of stuff, so I think that he's going to be fine with that. I don't think he needs to beef up, but I think that what was it? Oscar Robertson originally was saying how you just have to rough Curry up, and you just have to rough him up every possession because the refs won't call it every single time. And that's the idea behind the Warriors moving screens, is they set moving screens and they do it every single time because you can't call it every time because the refs just won't do it.
Right.
It's the same idea, in my opinion.
Can we call travels every time, though? Can that just be one thing we do?
Yes, please.
Well, LeBron is the master of the crab dribble, so...
The 10-step crab dribble? I don't know.
The 5-step drop step?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need to enforce the rules. I love letting him play, but then there's the things like, okay, let him play, but you still can't travel. You still can't just break the game.
Right.
Right. I've got a couple things on this. First, we need to be fair. Talking about LeBron, I also have a Chosen One tattoo on the inside of my bicep.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I hit a little close to home, Mitch. Sorry.
We didn't know. Sorry,
kidding.
man.
No, I would never.
I heard yours is on your inner thigh, though.
It's a Chosen One tramp stamp. No,
if you ever want to see Mitch go red, just talk about an inner thigh tattoo saying the Chosen One.
No, I definitely do not have a tattoo. I do not like needles. But okay. Anyway, on track now. I think that the NBA calls fouls way too closely in the regular season, and they're probably a little too lenient in the playoffs. So there needs to be a happy medium throughout the season. And yeah, in the playoffs, they are going to let a little bit more go. I think that's just natural. But I don't like the stuff with Draymond Green in that Thunder series was not good. They needed to punish him on the spot after the tripping and the shots to the areas that would get called in street ball. That stuff needs to
get
be
you knocked on the floor in street ball.
You'll receive a punch if you do that.
Yes, that stuff needs to be punished immediately. the stuff that he did in this last game, or whatever game it was, the last game, that there's no reason he needs to be suspended for just that, but he should have been suspended a long time ago. The NBA needs to be a little bit more proactive with this kind of stuff. But in the regular season, there needs to be a happy medium where they can play a little bit more physically. But yes, please call travels. I'm so sick of watching all these travels. And please, Shaq Nafool, continue to show all of these really exaggerated travels.
Yeah.
Because it's really bad and these guys need to get called out. But yeah, just I enjoy the physical play, but I also enjoy the jump shooting. I think it's hard to do, but it would be really great to see an NBA where both styles could thrive and we could see maybe a bit more even of a series between the Cavs and the Warriors, that kind of thing.
See,
it's hard to do. But
what I always think about in the Suns playoff runs back in the mid 2000s with the 7 seconds or less and all that I hated the Spurs because it's not like they were playing tough, but like that mauling defense where like there's a foul like every couple of seconds. That's not like, I felt like that was the worst thing that could have happened to the Suns team. It was because of that. And then there's the bullshit stuff with Robert Horry and
we don't need
Bruce
to go
Bowen
there.
and all that. I mean, there's all that, but like there is a happy medium between calling everything spot on like the regular season, which they need to really relax on because it's ridiculous, and then in the playoffs where they let guys get away with murder.
Right. I mean, you can look at...
Hold on.
Sorry, go ahead.
I have to add an asterisk on that. They let them get away with murder as long as it helps them make money.
Right. I mean, we can learn a lot from that, from those 2000s teams when Steve Nash had his nose broken against the Spurs and they were intentionally trying to take out his ankles and trip him and all of that. You know, there's no need for that. That's going overboard. But yeah, I mean, you need to be able to play physically.
Man, I don't like talking about those times with Steve. Just makes me feel bad. Poor little Steve. He's like just kind of like a Steph Curry type body. He's getting beat up. You got to feel bad for the guy a little bit.
I get even angrier. So we just need to get to a point where I can actually cool off a little bit tonight before I.
We should not
go
get
too
into
crazy.
that. Yeah.
Well, that's
it's
perfect
not
timing
good,
though,
but
because it's time for David's comic book corner and Mitch's face melter metal mayhem Monday. So we timed that
I
perfect.
still love that. Oh my god.
I almost butchered it. I had to reread that one before it doesn't quite flow off the tongue yet, but I assume it will be soon.
It'll get there.
I kind of thought that you were just gonna change it up every single time and just call it something else. Just be like, I don't know, it's way too many words in this one, but
I like it.
I dig it.
Maybe next week though, because I just got home and I didn't have time to I like to let my creative process work over a period of like at least an hour when it comes to that. Because it's pretty important stuff. So just look for a good one next week.
Okay.
All right, so why doesn't Mitch go first this time, real quick?
That's fine.
I can go first.
Is that fine?
So an album I've been listening to a lot lately is Shogun by Trivium. It's a super solid album. Came out in 2008. The big hit on that is Into the Mouth of Hell We March. It was a big radio hit, which is a great song. But despite the album artwork having Chinese or Japanese characters, I'm not sure what's on it, there's a lot of songs about Greek mythology. So if you enjoy Greek mythology and heavy music, I highly recommend this. I like Greek mythology and heavy music, so it's great. My favorite songs are Torn Between Scylla and Charybdis. There's one Greek mythology example right there. The Calamity, He Who Spawned the Furies, Of Prometheus and the Crucifix, and Like Callisto to a Star in Heaven. Those are my favorites, and then the final track is a cover of Iron Maiden by Iron Maiden, which is one of the best Iron Maiden covers I've heard. And Maiden got me into heavy metal, so I really appreciate that cover. But yeah, Shogun by Trivium, super solid album.
That sounds legit.
It totally is.
All right, David, are you prepared?
I am prepared. All right, so there is a run that's going on right now. It's 8 issues in. It's only going to be 12 issues. It is run on The Vision, and it's written by Tom King. Tom King is one of my favorite writers. He's just really good. He's an ex-CIA agent, and he started writing comic books. And he's going to start writing Batman and a bunch of other stuff. So he's writing The Vision. And basically the pitch for this series is The Vision decides to create a family. So The Vision, if you don't kind of know who he is in Avengers Age of Ultron and Captain America Civil War, he's the robot guy that is kind of started to created by Ultron, and then Tony Stark finishes him up. He's got the gem in his head. He can go through walls and stuff because comic books. But basically the pitch is The Vision decided to create a family of other robots, and it's some really interesting like AI like views of things, like is AI people or is like all this other stuff. It's really heavy and really dark, and Tom King is a fantastic writer. Check it out because that book is great, but it doesn't nearly get enough sales. It's so good. It's gonna finish off at 12, and it's crazy and it's dark, and you'll read it and be like, oh, this is happy, why am I so sad?
You may have just sold me on that one, David. I might have to check that out.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Cool. Well, and I don't have anything exactly to talk about, but I'll just talk about my weekend a little bit. So I had a buddy get married over the weekend back in South Dakota, so I was really excited to get home. And mainly, I was excited to go beat the heat a little bit because it's been 115, 116 down here in Arizona. So, get to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It is 100 degrees with like 60% humidity or something ridiculous like that. And it was hotter there than it was down here in Arizona while I was there. So that was really disappointing. But I had a great time at my buddy's wedding. Congratulations, Cody and Don. We had a blast. Got to see some old friends. And I just had a great weekend. I was back in South Dakota for 30 hours. And it felt like plenty. So I got my trip for the summer in. So happy to get that done. And I think that's going to do it for today. Unless you guys got anything else.
Let's wrap this baby up.
Wrap it up. All right. Be sure to check us out on social media. Follow us on Twitter under the handle @SunnyandPHXPod. Find us on Facebook under the name Phoenix Suns Multiple Sources. Hit us up through email with questions or suggestions at sunnyandphxpod@gmail.com. Head over to our website at multiplesources.net/PhoenixSuns and the entire Multiple Sources blog and podcast network. Check back in before the draft next week to hear our lottery mock draft, where we try to piece out who the Suns will be taking with those 4th and 13th picks. And we'll see you next week. Go Suns.